Angwaja Jed, Angwaja Sener. This is Mukasa Africa Mayat, coming to you from Mukasa.info. That's MUKASA.info. We just finished training today, Matsumu combat training, grappling, female self-defense, and all of the various other techniques. So you might hear training in the background. I wanted to bring to you all today a very important subject, briefly, the Colorado Massacre from a martial artist's perspective. As we all know, it was a very serious tragedy that happened in Colorado. Of course, we send our condolences out to the families of, I believe his name was James Holmes, who massacred, viciously shot down a dozen people and injured, I think it's somewhere between 30 and 50 people. I've heard different numbers. I wanted to speak briefly on a martial artist's perspective on the situation. When I see these incidents in the news, I often think of how things could have been prevented. And the first thing is that he came into the theater, he left the door open, and then he went back out and he put on all of his gear, his attack gear. He had protection on his shin. He had bulletproof tactical vest. The tactical vest has compartments in it so that he could take things out, explosives, and he did use an explosive. He had a mask on, which was protection from the gas, and the mask was also face protection, and he had throat protection on. I believe he had groin protection on as well too. So he was fully, his body was fully physically protected, and he had some semi-automatic weaponry which he upgraded and made into high automatic firing weaponry, and he just basically came in and just started shooting people down. So from a martial artist perspective, and of course once he started shooting, when everybody realized that it was not part of the movie, they began to run out. So you had the element of surprise, you had darkness, the darkness of the movie theater, you had smoke. And he was absolutely, of course, not expecting anyone to attack him. And he had a gas mask on. So I'm sure we've all seen gas masks before. With the gas mask, his periphery was blocked, meaning that he couldn't see everything. So he couldn't see everything. It was smoke in the theater from the gas, whatever the distraction that he threw. And the darkness and his periphery was blocked. So a trained person, if they knew how to get into his blind spot, if his periphery is slightly blocked, if a trained person knew how to get into his blind spot, they could have grabbed him, and the grab would have been the best likely thing to do in that situation, because if you went for, let's say you knew how to do a flying roundhouse, and you did a flying roundhouse into him, but maybe you missed, and he got back up on his feet, it would be distance between him and the person on that attack. Or if you went to punch him, let's say you got a great punch in, but it wasn't a knockout punch, he had head protection on. After the punch, he would come back and fire. So the best likely thing to do would be to disarm him first. If he's holding an automatic weapon, he has to hold it with two hands. It's a trained way to disarm a person. You can look various disarming techniques up online. It's a wrap around both hands and a motion against the weapon. What it does, it causes the arms to bend and the hands. He would have to drop the weapon. You could actually grab it in the process. So that's one. Two, you would, as a defender, have to kill him. As a defender, you would have to take his life because, and you have the right of equal force protection under the law to kill someone in a situation like that. if you just knocked him down, you don't know if he's going to get up and he's going to have a handgun or a knife or something else. So, if it was me in the movie theater and I didn't have an out or any other choice and I saw that he was killing people, as a combat specialist, I'm obligated to defend. I would have tried to find his blind spot. I would have went in, wrapped his arms and the weapon, disarmed him, and then I would have went for what's called a blood choke, a rib blood choke. He had neck protection, but that would have worked against him. It could actually help secure the neck, especially if it was metal. It would cut into his neck. The only way throat protection would have helped him is if the mask extended down to the neck, or if the body protection came up to the neck. If that was not the case, the neck protection could have helped choke him to death. And it's called, everyone in the audience, please look this up, a figure 4. It's called a rear naked choke. In MMA, we call it in Massacre a rear blood choke, where you lock the arm on the bicep and you put the other hand behind the head and you constrict. The head would be here, you constrict down. You could do it with the left or the right, and you constrict. The best likely situation that I could think of, and you never know what's the best scenario unless you were there, and of course I was not there, but it would have been a disarming of him, and because he has so much body protection on, it would have been a rib blood choke, and the best likely situation would have been to choke him to death, and that possibly could have saved lives. Unless you're in a state where you have concealed carry, of course, as well, then, if it was concealed carry, and I know they're armed to the teeth in Colorado, if they were allowed to have weapons within the theater, then someone with the element of surprise could have started shooting at him. And usually people like that are absolute cowards. And once people are shooting at them, then they either drop their weapons and run or something along those lines. But it was a very serious massacre. I wanted to just give my perspectives as a combat and weapons specialist to our audience, the people who study our videos. It's hard to look back and say what could have happened, but just speaking on the need for us to be trained in combat and defensive techniques is very important in this mad, crazy world that we live in. I wanted to give you those views. Thank you all for listening. Hotep, Angwajajiet, Angwajasanet.